Gentlemen, I want to take a few minutes today and talk to you about not being that guy. Now you might go, what does that mean, not being that guy? Let me explain. This is going to primarily be towards those of you who have families, but I think any man can use it. There's a verse in Romans chapter 12, verse 15, and it says, learn to rejoice with those who rejoice. And it sounds like a simple verse, like, yeah, when someone's happy, be happy for them. But the word there, rejoice, comes from the Greek word kairo, and it literally means learn to experience God's grace. Learn God's grace. So when people want to rejoice, they want to experience God's grace, you're supposed to help them experience God's grace. Let me give you an example of how that might work. Let's say your kids want a new shirt, or want to go to a movie, or want to go to a concert, or maybe want to have a sleepover at someone's house. Now you could say, yeah, okay, or sometimes we as men, we're like, oh man, you already have a new shirt, or you already, you don't have to go to this concert, or why do you always have to go to a movie? First, just shut that up, okay? Shut that voice up. But secondly, learning how to let them experience God's grace is twofold. So they want to get a shirt. Say, okay, let's get a shirt. You know what would go good with that shirt? Let's get you a pair of sunglasses, or let's get you a pair of shoes. You want to go to a movie? Great. Here's $30 so you can get a Coke and some popcorn. Or you want to go to a friend's house? Great. Let's go ahead and plan your friend's house, but why don't we stop and get some snacks for that sleepover? Maybe a couple games, something like that. So the idea is you don't, not just say no to it, but when you say yes, you help them experience even more of God's grace. Why is this important? Well, whether you're doing this in regards to your kids or your wife or people you work with, it's pretty simple. We see it best with our kids. We represent God. And our kids are going to see God the Father as they see their own father. And our wives are going to see God the Father the same way they see the husband, or as I hate to say it, but as the one that the wife submits to, and that has so much connotation, I won't get into it. But as the head of the household, we have to understand as men that we are in a sense representing who God is. And those we work with, whether it be our boss, employees, or other people we see on the job, we need to understand that as they rejoice, we want to help them experience God's grace, learn God's grace by rejoicing with them, which means not just, hey, way to go, but upping the ante. It means taking it a little farther than even what they expect. Someone gets a promotion. The next day you show up to work with a new pen or something for their desk and saying congratulations. When we rejoice with people, we don't just verbally say something. We don't just high-five them. We literally now say, how can I help them understand God's grace? That when He rejoices and goes a step further. And no one wants to be the guy who doesn't want to do that. Nobody wants to be the guy who doesn't celebrate God's grace, who doesn't help people experience God's grace. I grew up with kids whose families would, all the time, their kids would come over to my house, and many times their kids would say, I wish my dad was like your dad. I wish my mom was like your mom. And I grew up thinking, yeah, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy where my wife or my kids or the people I work with say, oh, I wish I worked for your employer, or I wish I worked for your boss. I wish I had your husband. I wish I had your dad. Don't be that guy. Learn to rejoice with those who rejoice. Help them experience God's grace by taking everything up a notch for them and their rejoicing. All right, that's it for today. Don't forget to share our podcast, share our YouTube channel, blah, 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 blah. You know the drill. We will talk to you tomorrow on the David Lyons Podcast.